What up, horror hounds? I'm Eric Harrison, and welcome to the Death Twitch. Today we're going to switch gears by talking about a new movie with some old school flair. It's called Here Comes Hell. Came out in 2018, written and directed by Jack McHenry.
It was an evening of revelry and conviviality.
How'd you do?
Ah, what's this? Jealousy? No matter, the table is laid, the wine is poured. Romance has blossomed.
We are to be married.
It's shaping up to be a rather good evening. Until...
Spirits, commune with us and move amongst us. We bring you gifts from life into death. Don't break the circle!
Found birthplace, desire, and destruction.
Here's to a weekend in the country. Cheers.
Alright, so the movie starts out with a Frankenstein-type warning intro. I don't know if you remember that from the original Frankenstein movie where they had a guy come out at the beginning and explain to the audience that the movie is so scary. Some people with weak hearts or that can't handle the horror might want to leave now. So this movie pays homage by having their own little intro. And then we get our jaunty jingle / title screen. And once you hear this damn little jingle, it gets stuck in your head. And between the Frankenstein intro and the jaunty title screen, it's obvious that this is a movie that's just having fun with the material. So one of the things I really like about this movie is that it's trying to pay homage to and replicate this style of horror from the 30s, which it means like long shots, not rapid fire editing, lockdown cameras, stuff like that. And I dig that, so I dig that about this movie. And I think they do a really pretty darn good job of recreating what a 30s horror movie was like. So let's talk about the plot of the movie now. So we're introduced to all of the characters one by one. At first we have George, who is an oil tycoon's son. And he's on a train. He's the American of the group because this is a British horror movie. So he's the American on a train. And he's going to the mansion. And we're also shown that George is carrying firearms on him. I guess he goes everywhere with a gun. While on the train, he talks to a fellow passenger named Jeffrey Bank, played by Robert Llewellyn, who tries to warn him about the reputation of the mansion and to probably stay away or at least stay on guard. And as it's revealed that George is actually a skeptic, he doesn't believe in any of that stuff, so he just kind of scoffs and, doesn't pay any attention.
My station's just coming up. It's been very nice passing a bit of time with you. And, tread carefully, Mr. Walker. You're not in Texas any longer.
Next, we're introduced to Freddie and Elizabeth. And Elizabeth is our final girl. She's the protagonist. She's our main girl. And she's got this kind of whimsical, kind of hypnotic energy about her. But anyway, Freddie is a famous tennis player. And then it turns out that Elizabeth is actually insecure. She feels like she's a nobody. She's going to this party at some mansion where everybody is like a millionaire or they're famous in some way, and she feels very insecure. But Freddie lets her know, don't even worry about that shit. Next, we're introduced to Christine, who meets George at the train station, and it turns out they were ex-lovers in the past, and apparently they just don't get along anymore. Christine seems to be, I guess, a millionaire, and she's quite the stuck-up bitch, at least for the first half of the movie. So Freddie and Elizabeth arrive at the mansion that has definitely one of those creepy old-school horror vibes to it. They go inside and it's just completely dilapidated. It looks like the place needs to be condemned and torn down. And then we're introduced to Victor, played by Charlie Robb. Apparently he had inherited a bunch of money from his father after he died, so now he just kind of goes crazy with the money, and as As Freddy explains, he just kind of goes along with whatever fad is happening at any given time. He just blows his money on this and that. And it turns out this time, the thing he's blowing his money on is wanting to hold a seance in this big creepy mansion. So all the characters gather, they have a little bit of back and forth. We kind of get to know them and their relationship with each other. And then they have a dinner. By dinner, I mean they really drink a lot in this movie. So there might have been some kind of burnt chicken on a plate, but they don't really eat it. They just kind of keep drinking throughout the whole movie, which also seems to be an homage to old school horror. They drank a lot of booze in those old movies. I don't know if you ever noticed that. But anyway, while at the dinner table, they're kind of talking. Everybody's kind of giving Elizabeth a hard time. She obviously is insecure, and she just doesn't feel like she's good enough to be there, and they start questioning her about what she does, and she's like, I'm just a secretary, and it makes her feel stupid. But then she admits to but I want to be a writer.
But my real passion is writing.
Ooh.
Well, what sort of writing?
Are we in the presence of the next Jane Austen?
I don't think so.
More Shelley than Austen.
Oh, please.
So after they drink their dinner, Victor finally starts to let them in on what's going on. He gives them the backstory of, I guess, the former owner of the house, Ichabod Quinn, was an occultist and an artist, and he would take drugs and try and get in touch with the dark side and then paint it, and ultimately it's come to reveal apparently he actually wanted to open the gates of hell. Victor reveals that his entertainment for the evening is he invited a medium to come and have a seance. Half the people, everyone just thinks it's kind of goofy. The other half of the people think it's something you shouldn't mess with. So eventually he convinces all of them that, come on, let's do this seance. And the medium shows up, and she's just pulled right out of one of those old movies, man. Classic character, very intriguing, engaging, and amusing. One of those kind of gypsy, medium, psychic kind of characters you remember from those old school movies. She plays it perfectly.
Miss Hall and Miss Barton, I presume.
Wrong way round.
Oh, well, can't get them all right.
How do you already know our names?
Oh, a name is a name is a name. Curious.
What's curious?
Is everything all right, Madame Belrose?
Oh, yes, perfectly fine. Just a feeling.
Now we're getting to the point where things are definitely beginning to change. Now I want to say that I think that a lot of people that might try starting this movie, they probably get bored with the first half and they think, oh, it's just gonna be boring the whole way through. They're just gonna be talking in a room. But there's actually a big shift coming during this scene. So if people could just hold in there, I know not the first half of the movie is not everyone's cup of tea, but I guarantee you it gets better. So here we have the seance scene where they're all sitting in the dark around a table with a candle, and we got the camera spinning all the way around doing the 360 thing, which I really like, and it definitely works really well in this scene. The medium starts to do her thing, and she becomes possessed by the spirit of Ichabod Quinn, and he starts speaking through her. And this scene, I must say, is very well done and actually legitimately gives me the creeps the way she's speaking and the things that she's saying.
And the great beast will rip you limb from limb for all time. He will sit upon a throne of blood in a Eden of pain.
So it gets very dramatic. She falls over, the fucking candle goes out. It gets dark and it's all quiet. Elizabeth reaches over to see if she's okay. And then, that's right, that's when it's revealed that this is not just an homage to old 30s horror movies. This is a combination of The House on Haunted Hill meets The Evil Dead.
Well, I think another drink is in order.
So after being knocked out, everyone just assumes that she's out for good, and they're all trying to figure out what the hell's going on. The next thing you know, the possessed medium gets back up, starts attacking everybody, bites Freddy's fingers off, and he starts flipping out, and then her head explodes because George brought a gun and he blew her fucking head off.
Oh my God!
So her body falls to the ground. Freddy's flipping out. Everyone's flipping out. It's just hysteria. Now this is where the movie really just gets fun. Even the editing, the film style, everything changes about it once we pass the seance scene and once the first possession happens. It's no longer slow, steady editing or shots. Everything becomes much more modern. Everything just really kicks it up a notch. So once they split up, we get to the point where the evil kind of starts attacking them individually, and it knows their weaknesses, it knows their fears and insecurities, and it starts to use that against them. The first thing that happens is Victor encounters what appears to be the spirit of his dead father, who's completely disappointed in him for the way that he's just blowing his money. So the evil uses Victor's feelings about his father and about himself against him until he flips out and runs out of the room. So Freddy and Elizabeth run off into another room where Freddy is freaking out about the fact that his fingers have been bitten off, and then his whole hand just sort of disintegrates and he passes out. But then next thing you know, he pops back up because now he's possessed. Christine has her little encounter where she shrinks. She encounters, she thinks it's kind of like her fake version of her friends. They're all mocking her and making fun of her, and she's shrinking because it's like a representation of how insignificant and small she actually feels inside, which is why she's such a bitch on the outside. She's trying to cover her insecurity with that kind of facade, but the evil knows your weaknesses, and it's going to use them against you, so it makes her feel completely insignificant. Then George encounters a fake Christine, who of course he has been in love with, and she fucking completely Evil Dead's out on him. So he shoots her or throws a fucking knife in her head. At one point, when everyone's split up throughout the creepy house, the possessed medium that's missing a head is walking around sort of looking for them, or I guess not looking, as it seems to be smelling for them. And Elizabeth basically saves Christine's life at this point, keeping her quiet while the dead medium is sniffing around, and then they see the medium go down into the basement, so they take off to go find the rest of the people. They all finally meet up in a room where George, after having experienced his little bit with the fake Christine, doesn't trust anybody anymore. So he's got his gun and he's got everybody by gunpoint because he wants to understand what's going on, but he doesn't trust anybody, and I don't blame him. So while holding everybody at gunpoint, Victor actually gets the gun away from him, and he's trying to get everyone to calm down when he accidentally shoots George. Everyone starts flipping out until Elizabeth says, "Hey, stop it. We have to work together if we're going to get out of this alive." It's just her character arc is definitely in full swing here, where she was at once the insecure one that felt like she wasn't good enough. Now she's becoming the hero and the leader. I really like this scene, as cheesy as it is. Once they decide they're going to stick together to fight against the evil, we get one of those montages of them prepping, getting their weapons ready and doing all of this. It's really funny stuff, and it's shot and edited very well. I want to say Christina is looking for a weapon. She seems to be thinking about a fire poker at the fireplace, and then somehow she just pulls out a massive sword. Now, I don't know where this sword came from. I guess it was in the fireplace. I'm not sure, but it's awesome. Big ass sword. You know what? I approve.
Chin chin.
So now they're all badasses, and they got their weapons, and they're going through the house trying to find the evil to stop it. And they get attacked by Freddy, because he's still possessed. That guy's still possessed. And I don't know, this part's really confusing to me. It's not explained at all. I still dig it, but it's totally weird. Previously Freddy's hand just kind of disintegrated, and now it's like a little T-Rex. I don't know what this is about. It's fucking weird. He's got a little T-Rex hand, but he winds up biting Vic, and then using the sword. I believe it's Christine beheads Freddy. So Vic's sitting there. He's like, oh God, I've been bit. I'm going to turn into one of them. Please kill me. Don't let me turn into one. And then this is really hilarious. While he's sitting there dying, he apologizes. He's like, I'm sorry that I spilt wine on your chest. That's what a stupid thing to care about at that time. But anyway, being his sister, Christine decides to take it upon herself to end his suffering. So she impales him with the sword. Poor Victor.
Come on. We have to go now.
So at this point, the only two left are Christine and Elizabeth, who at the beginning of the movie were rivals, and now they definitely seem to be bonding. And not only that, but they both get a character arc. And as I said, the character of Christine for the first half of the movie is an absolute bitch, and you just hate her. But then, once the shit hits the fan, she actually starts to show a human side of herself, and she has a character arc, and she actually becomes strong and likable. And so does Elizabeth, who was once felt insecure and weak, and now she's strong and capable. She's leading the pack. It's great. So they decide that they need to close the gates of hell. They know it's opening up somewhere in that house, because they accidentally started opening the gates of hell when they did the seance and whatnot. They decide it must be in the basement, the lowest part of the house. When they start going down the stairs and they descend into just an entirely just some kind of fog. It's just fog. You don't even see a building anymore. They just kind of go down the stairs and they're in a fog. In the fog, Christine thinks that she sees George, because, naturally the evil of this mansion can just imitate people and try and fuck with you or trick you. So she goes up to see if it's really him, and he's got maggots in his eyes, so it ain't George. And while that's happening, it turns out that the evil spirit that was possessing Freddy leaves Freddy's body, because it's been decapitated. I guess it's useless, I'm not sure. But then it goes into Victor. So Victor goes down into the fog and starts attacking everyone, where Christina uses what seems to be a champagne glass and a musket. Anyway, she fires that at him and kills him. Then they get through the fog and they actually find the medium, the headless, possessed medium, possessed by the spirit of Ichabod Quinn, still doing chants by the portal and opening hell up even more. And so they decide we need to stop him, and they're going to attack him, when of course the evil spirits of the mansion again pull more tricks, where they pretend to be Freddy back from the dead, talking to Christine and how, I've always loved you and you've always loved me. I never loved Elizabeth. That was all just a trick. And it's meant to, try and make Elizabeth and Christine turn on each other. Christine says, don't listen to him, don't do it. That's when Elizabeth turns and fires at the medium, knocking her into the portal, and somehow something about this makes it begin to implode in upon itself. The fake Freddy bursts into flames. Everything starts getting sucked into the portal, including Christine, who Elizabeth tries to save. She reaches in, grabs her by the hand. We get that classic scene, her hand slipping. And this is a little bit of a weird shot, a little bit of a weird idea. I don't really fully understand it, but the sword comes flipping through the air. She grabs it by the blade and still is trying to save Christine, where her hand is just getting cut up trying to save this girl who they were once rivals. Unfortunately, Christine gets sucked into the portal. Elizabeth makes her way outside, where she watches a model of the mansion sink into the ground. It's a little cheesy. Okay, it's a lot cheesy, but I actually find this kind of thing to be adorable. It's pretty adorable to me to see these kinds of effects. I like practical effects. You guys would probably be like, it'd be so much better with the CGI. It would look awesome, but I think this is awesome myself. Cheesy as it is, I like it. And then that's it. That's the end. Elizabeth survives. She's the final girl. She's the only one. She closed the gates of hell. I guess they imploded on itself, sucked in the fucking mansion, and that's it. She survives. She gets to go and write her ghost story, which is going to be a good one. Probably based, after this experience, it's going to be a pretty scary story. The end. Now let's talk about other things, of course, before I wrap her up. I'm sad that Christine, the character, winds up dying in the end. I wanted her to make it, because even though in the first half of the movie she's a bitch and you dislike her, I really grew to like her throughout the second half of the movie, because she mans up and she actually she becomes more human, way more of a human, way more depth. That whole bitchy facade just completely leaves once all the shit hits the fan. And I wish Christine would have survived. And not to mention that the actress Margaret Clooney, who plays her, is pretty hot. Pretty hot there. What else do I want to talk about? Yeah, it's like I like the tongue-in-cheek nature of it. I like how it doesn't take itself very seriously. It's just a fun time. This is definitely a horror comedy. I like how the first half of the movie, they showed a lot of restraint in playing up the style of an actual 30s movie, the way everything's just kind of slowed down. And then I like how once the possession starts, everything speeds up. The editing speeds up, the pacing, the action, everything becomes crazy, and it's really great. This just has everything that I could possibly like in it. It's horror comedy. You guys know I love horror comedies. It's old school, but it's also new school. It pays homage to all my favorite things, and you can never go wrong with some dead-eyed action. The score is great. It definitely sounds like a creepy old 30s horror movie score, but then like I said, we have the juxtaposition of that jaunty jingle of the title screen, which always gets stuck in my head. The budget for this is very, very low. I believe this was a Kickstarter movie, right? And it was very low budget, and I'm shocked they were able to pull off everything that they did and make as good a movie as they made on such a low budget. Okay, I don't want to keep rambling. I don't want this to be another fucking 35-minute review, so let's rate it, even though I'm bound to having forgot something, and I'll come back and go, God damn, I forgot. Let's rate it. I'm going to give it a 4 1/4. 4 1/4 stars out of 5. Yeah, you guys know I mostly review movies I like, so that's why I'm always giving high ratings for the most part. This one is an instant favorite of mine. I adore this movie. 4 1/4. Check it out.